welcome again to Hashtag Career Goals. Today we're here with Elena Agaragimova. Hi, Elena. Thank you so much for being here and for giving us a bit of your time.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
Sure. So, Elena is actually from Russia, and by the age of 13, she moved to the state, from Russia to the States. And after jumping from career to career, she found her purpose in career development and helping others to reach their potential. So also Elena is known for helping individuals and organizations to achieve their maximum potential and stay competitive in the business world. She started her career working in the careers development department at universities and now has jumped into the business world as a co-founder and founder of Bessern and Bloom Youth. So, Elena, I was thinking maybe we can just start talking about you. Maybe you can tell us a bit about you and also about Bloom Youth and Bessern.
Sure. So, no, you did a quite nice introduction. So thank you for that. Yes, indeed. I've kind of jumped around from place to place in my career and even my studies at universities. And that sort of drove me to do what I do now. And I didn't really realize it back then, but it was through my own, I guess, struggle of trying to figure out what I want to do, what career do I want to pursue, and kind of learning the hard way, the whole process. I said, okay, I think maybe I can actually offer this sort of information to other people, and that might be helpful. And that's kind of how Bloom Youth was born. But the mothership of the company is Bessern, and this is where we work with corporations. So it's myself and Ivan Palomina, who is my co-founder. We've kind of come together and we said, how can we add value to organizations and institutions that are out there based on our experience and our expertise?
Great. So you started in the careers development department. How was that in universities?
So when I was studying, I used to think, okay, what do I want to do, right? Like, what do I want to do with my degree? And I actually studied international relations, which has nothing to do with what I'm doing now, except it did give me insights into the cultures, like the business cultures around the world. And I got to meet some amazing people. But at the end of the day, I just wanted to work with people. I didn't want to have a traditional 9 to 5. So, and I really just wanted to work with individuals to try to help them get to that next level, because that's something I struggled with. So I kind of learned everything, as I mentioned, the hard way. So I said, okay, how can I create the process that is easier for other people? So I think it was just kind of that, it wasn't planned. It was sort of a hobby that turned into a career and then a business. But that went after trying at least 17 different jobs, probably more than 17 jobs of trying different things since the age of 15 for me to really find this thing that I really want to do. So,
wow, that's amazing, because I think in one way, for some people it would be crazy, but for some others it's like, she is the expert of career exploration. You really master that.
Yes, I've done all the things I don't recommend other people to do necessarily. So just ask me. I think I've gotten the interview process, for example, to just the psychology. I'm convinced that interviewing is just all about psychology at this point. It's just knowing what people look for, and it's almost like an art to be able to pass an interview.
Definitely, yeah, you're totally right. So from your experience, I know that, you have been dealing with careers so much. So I wanted to maybe start talking about the steps that you need to follow to find the right career for you. I think this is one of the things that some people don't quite get, or they want to discover what's the right career for them, but they're not sure about the steps that they should follow, or the things that they have to identify, or to how to know themselves well. So I have done some reading. I wouldn't say a lot of reading, but some reading. And I keep finding the same things about finding your interests and identifying your strengths and your values. So how can someone do this? How can someone identify these three?
Sure. So I don't think there's any magic formula to going through this, right? But I think that it comes down to a couple of things. One, I think when we study at universities, right, it often happens that we're sort of we get into certain degree of studies that we don't necessarily we're not really necessarily aligned with them, but because we've put in the education, the time to actually pursue the study, and maybe we did quite well, we feel like that should be what we go to work in, right? And oftentimes it's not the case. So I think the first step is accepting that it's okay if you don't know, and that you don't have to just follow the kind of traditional route of what you think might be the right steps based on what the society has been telling you, or based on the fact that you just studied that major. In fact, and I don't remember the percentage, but more than half of graduates don't actually end up working in the major that they studied. So that's just to show that when we actually enter university, we don't really necessarily know that that's the degree that we want to work in. And so this discovery journey really needs to start after high school, or like maybe like your last years in high school. So, but anyway, and if you do find yourself in a situation where you've kind of like, okay, what's next for me? How do I find out what I like to do? Experimentation will always work. I don't recommend maybe doing 17 different jobs like I did. Like I did it the hard way. I did it the long way. I don't recommend it. I mean, I'm grateful for all of it, but there are other ways to do it. So I would just look into, step one, as I mentioned, just awareness and that acceptance that it's okay if you don't know, and it's okay to change your mind. And I don't want to, the audience to think of a career as something that's like for life. It's unrealistic. And when I often speak with students, and they're so focused on like, yeah, but what am I going to do? Like, what am I going to work in? You don't even need to put so much pressure on yourself, first of all, right? So if you go and you work somewhere for a year or 2 years and you realize it's not for you, that's all right. Gone are the days when we're just stuck in one career. So experiment as much as you can. I think this is probably the most valuable advice I can give, is that find how can you create opportunities for yourself to try different things, right? So, and those can be like volunteering, as simple as volunteering. Those could be projects, freelance gigs, just spending time like job shadowing other people. And I know you know quite a bit about this. So this is how you and I actually connected, is because I was like, this girl has
Totally.
amazing content on job shadowing. So you're the expert on that stuff. So, well, actually, they should just go and check out your job shadow videos. That's what they should be doing.
Totally.
But
Linked here.
and so I think anytime you can create opportunities for yourself to experiment. So starting to understand what is it that you like, not necessarily what is it that I'm studying and what I should be doing based on, previous experiences, but just looking at kind of just removing all of that and saying, what do I enjoy doing? Right. And what am I good at? And there's going to be a fine line between sort of being able to pursue things you really are passionate about versus something you're just good at, right? Because another thing that we need to consider is that realistically, we all have responsibilities and bills to pay, and we have certain things that we need to take care of ourselves, right? So it's not, sometimes you're going to find yourself in a situation that you're really good at something. It might not be your passion, but you're really good and you can make money from it, or vice versa, right? You might actually find that passion, that's something that you really like, and you can actually make money. But it doesn't mean you cannot do both at the same time also, right? So it doesn't have to be, one doesn't have to exclude the other. So I think that, again, just experimentation, looking at, what is it that you like? What kind of projects in the past that you worked on? What kind of activities you've done, even going back as early as school years? What sort of came natural to you? What do people come to advice to you for? So, if people were to, if somebody comes and asks you continuously about advice in different areas, like, what is that? Because that could be a hidden talent that you have that to you is a common sense, but to other people, they would actually, come to you for this because they see you as an expert in that area. So these are just a couple of ways to get started.
Yeah, I think that's super valuable, everything that you're saying. And like you mentioned, this is why we connect. And finding your strengths, it doesn't have to be so difficult, in the sense that I don't think you have to go through a whole process of really understanding what kind of person you are. But like you said, small things like what things are people always constantly asking you about, or what things are people saying, oh, you're so good at this. I mean, it's amazing how natural this is for you, and for me it's so difficult. So there are little things that you can take as hints, I would say, and then just use it totally for discovering the passion that, or the purpose, or even the career that you want to follow. That's super cool.
Absolutely. And just to add
And
to that as well is that, sometimes oftentimes actually, we don't know what we don't know. So in order for us to find out, like, how do we find out things that we just don't have exposure to? There's many instances when I work with students or young professionals, and they don't even realize they like something until they're exposed to it, until there's a different perspective to a certain kind of job, right? And that's another thing that we need to consider, is that when we're in universities, And what I see from students is when I ask them, like, what are you looking for in terms of job? And usually it comes from like the big names. Everybody's looking for the big names, the big companies, the popular names. And it doesn't mean that those are the only like cool, like fun and the hot trendy jobs out there. In fact, there could be a startup that you could be really excited about that is in a growing space. Right. So I think expanding your access to information. And again, that comes from reaching out to people, job shadowing, right? Volunteering, because when you put yourself in certain situations where you create those opportunities for yourself, and there's various tools to do that, and we can talk about that. But once you put yourself in certain situations, you get exposed to different people, different businesses, different industries, and you get exposed to things you maybe were not aware of before. And that's the beauty of experimentation and exploration, right? So that's where it's at. So no, you cannot go wrong with just creating opportunities for yourself to experiment. There's so many things that will clarify for you along the way. And there's going to be many things you're like, well, I definitely don't want to do that. And that is just as valuable as finding out what is it that you actually want to do. And a final point here is that we change over time. And that's why, when I talk to people, like I say, look at it like, a year, 2 years from now. You don't need to have all your whole life figured out right now. Nobody does. We're all just trying to go. I'm still trying to figure it out, right? So we're all just trying to figure it out. And as you get exposed to new information and new networks and people, and as the world of work is changing, opportunities will arise, your interests will change, you'll develop, you'll meet somebody that's going to open up a whole different world to you. You never know. So don't focus so much on like what I want to spend my whole life doing. It's unrealistic. You're going to change probably a lot of times. Next 1 to 2 years, what do I want to spend my time doing? That's it.
That's a really interesting topic that you are talking about, because sometimes I get the feeling that it's okay for many careers. What you are saying is fine, but this is a question for you, for people that want to study something or that want to invest in a career. I mean, time and money, like for example, medicine. And you cannot just make a decision to study medicine for 2 years, right? That's not possible. So I guess it wouldn't apply to those careers. And what would you say to those people that are thinking about medicine, and maybe they're like, yeah, but what if I regret it? What if I invest so much in this career and in the end, after 5 years, 7 years of studying and working and really giving my all, I really don't like it anymore?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, so absolutely. There are certain fields where you can it's not as easy to kind of maneuver out of them or into them, right? So you can do it. Can you go and do your, I don't know, a degree for becoming a doctor later in life? Yes, but it's going to take you a lot longer. And it's just different logistics that go into place there. But if you are somebody who's been studying, let's say, I don't know, you've been into law or some kind of very, technical area of work, like some kind of engineering background, or perhaps a doctorate, for example, like going into medicine. One thing to also understand is that nothing is wasted, right? So everything that you learn in university, no matter any experience you have, whether it's studying, whether it's volunteering, whether it's working full-time roles, everything is adding to your strengths. It's adding to your experience. It's adding to what you bring to the table. Every single experience. It's up to you to be able to see that, and it's up to you to be able to package it in a way that is sellable to that next area of interest for you. So this is where that personal brand plays a role, right? So we need to be very clear about what value do we bring. And so we need to start with that, with accepting the fact that yes, maybe you spent 4 years studying something you don't really want to pursue. But out of that, there's going to be a whole lot of really rich experience that you can bring to just about any job. And many jobs, of course, are based on the soft skills aspect, right? So especially as now we have the machine learning and a lot of technology that's taken over different other areas of our work, right? That we kind of work along. But at the same time, it's about recognizing what are those, transferable skills, I guess is the word here, but what are those soft skills? What are those non-technical, non-industry specific skills that I can take with me? And when it comes to like people that are studying medicine or science or engineering, their frame of thought, the way they structure their thinking, the way they process things, the way they organize things is very different from somebody who is in a creative space, who's in a marketeer, right? Or who's in education.
Yes.
So, and you can take both of those into whichever area you essentially want to moving forward. It's about understanding what is it that you've gained. And this is why I always recommend to people, like every year or every 6 months, whatever works for you, write down a list of your achievements, write down the new skills you've gained. And as much as little as you think they might be, they could be some really significant things that you could potentially use with future companies and opportunities.
Totally. I mean, this is what you're saying is what my mom always said. There is nothing that you learn new that is going to be bad for you. Everything is adding up. And like you mentioned, I mean, probably if after, I don't know, let's say 2 4 years, to put an extreme example, you find out that you don't like this career, it's okay. You still can look at the positive side, and you've learned so much from it. So, Elena, we already talked about, like, how to define your interests, strengths, and values. And if someone already took a piece of paper and said, okay, I think these are my interests, my strengths, and my values. Now what? Now, how do I know which career I should explore? Do I link these to the careers that I want to concentrate myself in
Yeah.
for
So
exploration?
Hmm. So absolutely. So as you go through this sort of activities, right? As you're starting to kind of create that list of places that you say, okay, this is very interesting. And then the next step is to go into that experimentation. Okay, how can I now know more about this? Right? Maybe it's volunteer again. Maybe it's an internship. Maybe it's an actual job, or maybe it's just having a conversation with people who are working in those fields. Right. So actually just reaching out and having as many conversations as possible, getting an opportunity to really just get an insight of what that job is like. And again, here you are doing two things. You're learning about that opportunity, that potentially your future career, and also you're expanding your network in that area. And you're doing it in a very safe way because you're not necessarily looking for a job. You're just exploring to see what's out there. So at some point, you're going to end up with a short list. And I know maybe it sounds very cliche, but by the time you get to that point, you're likely going to have it figured out already. You're already going to figure out, like, this is what I'm really interested in, right? And this is kind of what I want to stick with. And the most important aspect of career journeys in general is the network. And I preach this all the time in everything that I do. It's finding people that you can connect with, finding the different networks that can help you get to that next step in your exploration. And there's three types of networks typically. So there's the personal one, which are our friends, our family, perhaps our community, like the yoga studio you go to, etc. Then there's the
Yeah.
professional one, which could be, if you're a student, it could be your peers in your university. It could be the professors, right? And or your colleagues if you're working already. And then there's the strategic network. Strategic network is the one that are your mentors, your coaches, your senior leadership that are going to help you and open doors to help you move up in your career. It's very difficult to do, especially the more senior you go, it's very difficult to do things without that strong network, because you can have the best CV in the world, and many people do. But if nobody knows about you, right, it
Yeah.
becomes almost
You're
irrelevant.
done. Yeah.
So I think that, step one is you kind of have your short list of potential companies you want to explore, industries. Steps two is, where can I explore, right? Who can help me? And then once you're there and you're kind of getting that experience, then looking at, okay, what is the next step here? And that's the thing, like, it's good to kind of think of all right, this is what I'm doing now, but strategic network is the ones that are going to open up doors, and again, those your mindset, and expand your knowledge in that area to say, actually, you know what, there's 2 or 3 different avenues you can go into. Let's talk about that, right? So this is why those 3 networks are very important, and it all comes together very nicely.
That's great advice. I mean, it's amazing. I actually, in some of my videos, I mentioned that you can also just go on LinkedIn, and contact people that are already doing what you would see yourself doing as well, and just ask them for a cup of coffee or like a Zoom call. Or because nowadays, of course, we're all at home. Or if you even, I get a lot of questions from in the videos, and some people are from other countries, and they're asking me, can I do this job in this other country? And I'm like, well, I am not sure. Probably you can, but just go on LinkedIn or such platforms, and find people that are already doing whatever it is that you want to do in the place that you want to do it, and ask them how it is, how did they got there. I mean, everything that you can find out to just make an informed decision down the line. That's amazing advice. So this actually brings us to how to explore new career options during these times, during the pandemic. People might think, okay, I want to do a job shadowing session, but it's not so possible. Like, it's not so easy because nowadays people are more restricted with contact or having people close to you or even meeting new people, or it depends on the country, right? So how, like, what tools can people use to explore careers right now?
Yeah, so and actually I'll tie it in with the previous comment you were talking about reaching out, because it sounds easy, right? But then there's people that are very introverted and it's very difficult. So
Totally, yeah.
the question I get from you was like, Elena, wonderful. We know we need to do these things, but how do you actually, what is the actual, like, how do I actually do it? What do I say to these people? And what if they say no? Or what if they don't respond? Or no, they're really busy. So, and the number one step is that, first of all, there's a lot of things we can control and cannot control. What we can control is how we reach out, our approach. And again, there's no magic formula to reaching out to people on LinkedIn, for example. Keeping it short, we don't ask for a job ever, right? Keeping very, like, subject lines need to be like quick question or 15 minutes of your time, or these are busy times, I won't take much of yours, or I saw your article, etc. So that's the subject line, and we want to keep the messages very short, right? So like quick, like 2 to 3 sentences. Listen, I'll use this as an example. Veronica, listen, I saw your content on YouTube. It was really great. I just wanted to listen. Thanks so much. Job shadowing videos were amazing. Can I ask you a couple of follow-up questions about this content that you're creating? Right. That's it. Right. It's a very it's a very simple note. And then
Yeah.
we cannot control if people don't respond necessarily, because people are busy. But this is where it's a numbers game. So the more people you reach out to, the more chances you're going to have to get lucky, essentially, in terms of people actually responding back to you. And that's, I forgot who said it, but there was a general rule in terms of when it comes to networking. It's the 1/3. Right. So 1/3 of people will respond to you. 1/3 of people will not even open your email. 1/3 of people will not even, acknowledge anything.
And that's normal. Yeah.
And that's normal. So you need to increase your reach out level so that you're able to have more of those, good conversations. Right. So that's one way. LinkedIn is definitely a beautiful way to do that. And another advice here is that don't answer the questions for that person. So usually when we're about to send a LinkedIn message, you say, oh, but this person doesn't want to talk to me, or they're busy, or they won't respond. You don't know that. That's you
You don't know.
making an assumption. So stop making assumptions and creating obstacles for yourself. There's nothing wrong for reaching out in a very nice, friendly, and professional way on LinkedIn to somebody to ask them about their experience. That is what LinkedIn is there for. It's a networking platform literally made for that. Right. And I've also seen a lot of people having established connections via Twitter, even. So reaching out to people via Twitter, I see there's a lot of response. I've connected people through Instagram, Facebook, not so much in my experience, but Instagram, Twitter are beautiful platforms. Of course, you have a more professional platform for specific networking, which is called Lunch Club. So it's lunchclub.ie, I believe, or AI, I forget. I think it's IE. So Lunch Club, it's a networking platform. It's completely free to use. And you really have categories of people. So you can connect with people for jobs. You can connect with people for startup world. Maybe you're a founder. Maybe you're looking for co-founders. Maybe you're looking for investments. You can also connect with people that are just interesting. So literally there's like a part that says connect with interesting people. So,
Yeah.
and Clubhouse, like Clubhouse is the latest thing, right? Like Clubhouse app is the latest thing where I see a lot of people connecting on there. I've connected with a few people, and it's as simple as that. And what I love about this aspect is that we don't have to go to these big events. It's actually easier now to connect. So if you are an introverted person, right, and if you are a little bit shy of approaching people, this is beautiful because you're just sending an email or maybe a message or maybe a voice note or something like this. So it's quite actually simple, and you're having these one-to-one interactions. And just a final point here is that experiment also with how you approach people, what works, what doesn't work, using your own sort of style and way to approach people. The idea is to be genuine. That's it. The idea is to be genuine, to look to add value to other people, and to be mindful of their time and respect. If they do give you the time, make sure you do the proper follow-up. Make sure you stay in touch with them. Don't just kind of take the information and run with it, right? Make sure you stay in touch, make sure you build that relationship. Networking is a long-term game. It's not a short-term game.
Yeah, totally. I mean, again, everything that you're saying is amazing. I totally agree with that. Even in the channel here, and we have I made a YouTube video about networking on Instagram, because everyone is talking about LinkedIn. That's true, but Instagram, no one really takes it as a platform where you can network. And it's amazing. We actually connected on Instagram. You started following me or following hashtag career goals, and then I was like, hi, how did you find us? And then all of a sudden we have like 1,000 things in common, and it's amazing. And
Absolutely.
we're here and we're doing a YouTube video, so it's crazy and it's super good. And don't be afraid of it. I think that the more you try it, the more you train your skills to do it better, and it's only going to be better. There's no other way. And about Lunch Club, you also recommended this in our first talk, and I tried it. I did some match, like I had some matches, but I haven't had the time to actually do the calls. But it's amazing the kind of people that you can find there, and they're really amazing people, and they're super open to talk to you. And like every single, like I had 2 matches, I think, and both of them were rescheduled, but they were open to talk to me. It's not that they just ignored the request or the email, and that's amazing. And probably this is one of the platforms where it's even easier to get into networking with someone, because it's everyone that's there has the purpose of talking to someone else. So they
Absolutely.
are already there with that purpose. So that's amazing. I really like that platform as well. And I wanted to just take a quick pause to tell everyone to comment below if you have any questions for Elena. I can pass them along to her later, and also like the video if you are enjoying it so far, and also just hit the bell and subscribe to the channel, because we are doing more videos like this every single week. So Elena, I was watching some of your YouTube videos, because you have a lot of content also on YouTube, which is amazing. And one of the things that really resonated with me, I guess, was about finding your purpose. So many people sometimes it gives you some kind of anxiety, I would say, even if you don't know your purpose and you're supposed to get a purpose. First of all, are we supposed to have a purpose? And how do we find the purpose? How do we identify what is that thing that we want to do and that we're meant to do in this life?
That's a great question, and I'm not going to pretend like I'm the expert on purpose. I was actually chatting with somebody the other day about this, and we were having this conversation, and my friend asked me, like, what is your purpose? And I was like, well, it's helping others, and I gave a very very generic, I felt like, answer, and I was like, and so at the end we just agreed that maybe our purpose is to find our purpose, and maybe it's just that it's about the journey. So I'm not an expert on purpose, but what I can tell you is that doing something you enjoy, and it might sound cliche because it's like everybody talks about finding your purpose and your passion, etc. But it's really that's where it's at. It's just being honest with yourself, with creating those moments of joy in everything that you do, right? So enjoying your work. If you are of course there's situations, and having been different parts of the world, there are situations where sometimes people have to work and they might not like their job, but they have to because it
Yes.
provides for the family, right? But then it also comes to a mindset shift that job is providing you, right? So then you need to find those moments of joys maybe outside of your work, right? So not everybody has the privilege to do something they really enjoy and just be passionate about. It really depends. So I do emphasize with those that are in situations where it's just simply not an option, and it's not an option for some people, absolutely. But if you do have that option, if you don't have that, the obstacles of your environment or society, or the communities that you live in, find things that you actually enjoy. Make time to figure out, especially if you're not enjoying waking up and really excited to go and to work. Because I mean, as ridiculous as it sounds, I really do, I'm excited every single day to wake up and do what I do, right? So but I
That's
mean,
great.
but it took me 17 different jobs to find that. So, and every time, and these are like small jobs, longer jobs, etc. But every time I've kind of hit a wall, I said, okay, I really don't want to, I don't know what's next, but I don't want to do this. I know this is not it. So, and that's the idea, is don't get stuck on something just because you feel like you're comfortable or you're afraid. So, and that's part of the journeys. And you eventually you get to that purpose, you get to that, I don't know if it's the purpose, but it's like living up to your values, right? Like living in a way that serves you, living in a way that's exciting to you, that you, because at the end of the day, if you're waking up really miserable and having to go to work or do the job that you don't enjoy, it's going to drain you. It's going to impact your health wise. It's going to impact your mental well-being, and it's going to impact those around you. It's a full circle. So when I speak about doing things you enjoy, it's not just about the job. It's just being able to find joy in every day, because it impacts everything that you do. And the idea is to not stop when you are when you are kind of just comfortable or you're afraid. So don't let fear, and oftentimes it's fear of change, fear of making the jump, fear. So don't let fear stop you from discovering. So if you're not happy in something, take the next step. You might not even be clear of the next step, but taking the next step is always going to get you moving versus being stuck kind of where you are. So as my friend told me, maybe our purpose is just to find our purpose, but enjoying the journey along the way.
Yeah, that's totally, I mean, the fact that, first of all, the two things that you began with, about if you have the option of changing and really exploring whatever it is that you want to do, and then that some people call their passion, then okay, you have the option of trying to get your purpose. And the fact that you can, it's a privilege for you. But there are other people that don't have that privilege because they have to provide. There are different personal reasons. And I remember I saw this, it was, I think, a TED talk from someone. I really don't remember the person, which is a shame, but he said, I remember meeting this person, that was a waiter, and he was so happy at his job, and he was actually doing this for many years, and the pay is not great, it's not amazing. Actually the work is pretty hard sometimes, some days, and he's always happy. And I had to ask him about his attitude and how he actually seemed to enjoy his job, and still after so many years. And the guy said, well, the thing is that my something like this, right? Something around what I'm going to say. Like, his purpose was to make people happy every day, to meet new people, and just make the time that they have together, the waiter and the person that he's waiting, just a beautiful thing. Just make them be happier as for the rest of the day. So that could be also your purpose. And if it makes you happy and it just makes your life, your day easier, it's totally worth it to just
Absolutely.
find something like this.
Absolutely. That's a beautiful
So
point.
then maybe let's say you found your purpose, or you said, okay, I'm going to enjoy the journey, and I know my strengths, I know my interest, everything. And you are trying to explore your career. You are in this journey of exploring new things. You are volunteering here and there and job shadowing, everything possible. How do you know that you have found it, the perfect job, the one that is going to make you happy, at least for the next years?
Well, when you know, right? Is that what they say? um, uh,
Exactly. Yeah.
Listen, I think that, again, by the time you get to this point, you really will kind of know what's the right thing. It's, I think, again, if you're genuinely enjoying what you're doing, if you're waking up and you're excited and you're curious, and you continuously looking at how can you be better at this thing, right? So you're looking at kind of new ways to innovate in this particular area of work, right? So when you're continuously trying to find out how can you challenge yourself in this area, you're curious, you're connecting with people that are in that area. So once you see yourself getting really excited and curious, and yet also sometimes a little bit afraid, I think that's a nice combination. Because once you find something you enjoy, and this is the journey very much we deal with our startups, is we're continuously trying to find new ways to do things better, to create new products and services, and we're super excited. It's like and every year we feel like we're just getting started. and you just feel like there's so much more to explore, right? But I think it could be just as simple as just waking up and saying, you know what, I'm really excited to go to work, or I'm really enjoying it and I'm getting energy from these activities. It's not draining to me. Because even in many people, when I speak with many people on the topics of kind of, especially in the entrepreneurship world of their businesses, and they're like, you know what, I am really exhausted every day, but it's a different kind of exhaustion. It's not a mental drain necessarily. It's a good kind of exhausted. It's the kind of exhausted that you've just spent a full day doing something super interesting that you're super excited about. And sure, you're only human, so you get tired, but you're genuinely just go to sleep with a light heart, with a happy heart, and you wake up with full of energy, ready to do it all over again. And I think that's a good indication of if you've kind of found that thing. But again, I think it comes in different forms for people. So I think it's just awareness of what does success look like to you? What does fulfillment look like to you? How does it feel? How would you feel? So when people imagine, having these amazing careers, what does that look like? How will you know that you've gotten there? And I think only you can tell yourself that, because we all have our own versions of what's joyful, of what's happiness, of what's enough money, of what's the purpose. So whatever image, that ultimate image you have in your head, I think this should be the aspiration, whatever works for you. And that can take so many different shapes and forms.
Yeah, success is only, I mean, it has the shape and the form that you want to give it to. There's no one definition of success for every single person in the world, which is, yeah, which is, I guess, just correct to have to say this, like there shouldn't be one box for where everyone fits, which is amazing. So Elena, maybe you can tell us some books or something that you can recommend for people that are watching that can help them through this journey of finding out what they want to do and what their purpose is, and what they want to become in a professional side.
Absolutely. So there's a really good book. I forget the authors, but it's called "What Color Is My Parachute." It's a brilliant career development book. It really covers from A to Z. So "What Color Is Your Parachute" is a brilliant book. If you're looking for more job search strategy, there's a really great book that helps you structure job search. It's called the 2 Hour Job Search. I forget the gentleman's name. Anyway, but it's the 2 Hour Job Search. If you're looking for a career change, there's a really good book by Dr. Dawn Graham, who is she's an excellent career expert, and she wrote a book. It's called Switchers. So it's all about making the career switch, and it has a lot of different gems for anybody who's even looking for just job search tips and networking. It's just brilliant. So there's that. I really like also reading things from other people in terms of like biographies or advice from people that have achieved the level of success that is true to them. So anything from Tim Ferriss, I'm a huge fan of. He has a book. It's called the Tribe of Mentors. Yeah, the Tribe of Mentors. I have it here. I had to look. The Tribe of Mentors is a brilliant book.
Okay.
It's full of advice and just kind of career and life journeys and business journeys of different people from that he's interviewed. I think it's over like 130 kind of different individuals that he's interviewed, and he asked them
Wow.
specific questions. And so it's a big book, and I just love it. I keep it by my bedside just to look at from time to time. It's a really great book. So these are some great books to start with. So anything from Tim Ferriss. Also, Seth Godin has some really great books when it comes to marketing. So I highly recommend those. But I think off the top of my head, these are the ones I would recommend.
That's great. And yeah, I mean, it also gives me a lot of ideas to read myself as well, which I like a lot. And also, Elena, where can people find you if they have like so much this conversation and they want to reach out to you? Where can they find you?
I am most active on LinkedIn, so just Elena Agaragimova. Of course, they can check out Bessern as well. So it's Bessern, Bessern.co. We post a lot of different topics there as well. On LinkedIn, I publish content on almost daily I'm a little bit active on Instagram, but not as active as I am on LinkedIn. So, and of course the YouTube channel, which also I tend to post things, but it's not as
Yeah.
active. But maybe it will be.
I mean, I also saw that you write a lot of articles. But you have been more like a guest in these blogs, right? It was more
Yes.
something like
Yeah,
that.
so you can find me if you just Google me, you'll find the Forbes articles that I've written. So I write for Forbes, Entrepreneur Magazine, various other publications in the Middle East and globally. So I think if you just Google me, everything that's I don't know if it's good or bad, but everything that I've
No,
written and
it's
done
amazing.
is there. So
It's amazing. I was like, wow, this girl has a lot of stuff, but it's amazing. Yeah, it's really great. So, yeah, thank you so much, Elena. I really, really enjoyed this conversation with you. I think it's super valuable for anyone that's going through this journey, and I really appreciate the fact that you are sharing your knowledge with us.
thank you. Likewise, it's been a pleasure.
So everyone, thank you so much for watching as well, and remember to like the video and to hit the bell and subscribe to the channel, and also comment below anything that you want to comment. And if you have any questions, of course, I will try to answer them. And also, if you have some questions for Elena, I can pass them along. So see you in the next one, and thank you again. Bye.